my goodness. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another 24/7 podcast, man. I know it's been a little while. I know y'all miss me. Maybe not too much, but that's all right. It don't even matter. I'm back though. What's going on with y'all? Jordan Lewis 9K. We back with another podcast. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm super excited to introduce my guest today. You all saw it on Instagram, so let me talk to you about the kid real quick. So I had the absolute honor and privilege to introduce one of my childhood best friends today. As charismatic as he was off the field, it intensified the moment he stepped on the field. This guy was a big play waiting to happen, whether he was carrying you whether he was carving you in the trenches on offense or locking down the opposing team's wide receivers on defense. Throughout his high school career, he totaled 2,358 total yards and 16 touchdowns with 5 interceptions defensively. God damn, bro. I still couldn't believe the stats when I saw him. I'm like, bro, this dude went federal, bro. He was a 2-time All-Section 1 selection, one of a very select few in our program's history, and he is easily one of the greatest football players to ever walk the walls of Portchester High School in New York. He also put up a batting average of .326 during his senior baseball season. He probably didn't know that I looked that up, but hey, that's a solid average right there. And he utilized his speed. To continuously make plays in the field. He'll go on to play college football at Wilkes University, where in his first start at his freshman season, he would total 100 yards rushing. Yeah, this dude was different. I ain't gonna lie. The saying is true that slow feet don't eat, and I promise you, this dude always made sure he had a full plate. So without further ado, please welcome to 24/7 Sports, my guy, Jay, never shy. If you don't step up, he gonna blow right by. Jason Wiley in the building, y'all. What's up, Jay? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Super happy to get you on the pod. For all you that don't know Jason, me and him went through all of school together, bro. Like we went through elementary. Not elementary, but we went to preschool together. Back at Tots Village, we went to preschool. Separated in elementary school because we had 4 separate elementary schools, but the friendship never left because once we got to middle school, it picked right up where we left off. So as much as he's one of my biggest rivals on the field, he is also one of my favorite people off the field. So Jay, I appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast with me, man. I couldn't think of anybody better to do it with, so I really do appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely, brother. Of course. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, audio's kind of choked. All right, let me know how the audio is now, because I think my desktop audio was a little off. It's probably a little better now. But, yeah, so we're going to get right into it, man. So, obviously, you are probably one of the more prolific athletes that walked through Portchester High School. Every single time that you stepped on the field, magic happened. It didn't matter whether it was on the football field or on the baseball field. But I want to keep it right where football is, so we're going to take it back to the good old days, the Rye-Town days, and maybe even a little before. Actually, we're going to go before that. So your love for football, as he has his New Orleans Saints shirt on, so you already know what team he repping. So,
come on now.
He's seen some good days, he's seen some bads, but that lets you know that's a loyal fan right there. So don't get into it.
Miss Drew Brees, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I definitely want to ask, your love for football, where exactly did it stem from? Can you remember the earliest recollection where you told yourself, this is exactly what I want to do when I get older?
To be honest, the earliest is Chris Jordan asked me to play Rye-Town football. And he brought me to a practice one day. I joined the Cowboys just for small practices or whatever. Mm-hmm. But once others really saw it in me, that's when I was like, okay, now I got to start doing this, because if I'm good at it and everybody sees that I'm good at it, I got to start rocking with it. And I started watching football, on the side with family, at home, doing my own thing. And then it just spirals from there. But shout out Chris Jordan, that's my boy.
Yes, sir.
Definitely put me on to the Rye-Town League, got me onto the Cowboys. That was the beginning right there. That was the beginning.
Man, shout out CJ, bro. CJ is good for a put on. I'll tell you that right now. There is nothing.
GOAT.
That boy really is the GOAT, man. So that's actually crazy. I really didn't know that's how it stemmed. I didn't realize it came from Chris. But,
for real.
So
definitely did.
So football wasn't the answer. Was it baseball then? Did you want to be a baseball player? What exactly did you want to do growing up?
I think my family kind of put me in T-ball
Okay.
when I was really, really young. didn't play football first. Fell in love with football once like you threw the pads on and you started hitting people.
Yeah.
That was sick. You know what I mean? Um, so you know what I mean? Start hitting people. Everybody's starting to tell you you're good at it. You should keep doing it. Keep, honing the craft and whatnot. I stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked football a little bit more than baseball because that's where I went, for college. I went to Wilkes to play football. Um, but now I'm a baseball coach. So it's, I still got love in both areas, but stay on the football.
Yeah, nah, it sounds like you got the best of both worlds for sure. That's actually crazy to
Yeah.
hear that. So we're gonna get to Wilkes a little later, but I do want to keep it right at your childhood. So the Cowboys, as Chris Jordan put you on. So talk about your experience with the Cowboys. What were some of the was there any learning curves that you had to overcome while you were trying to understand the game of football? While you were, because that's probably where you first started. That is where you first
I
started
feel like
off.
the
So
I feel like the Cowboys, we were so young, so like it was kind of just be fast and hold the football when you're running. That's it. And then when you play defense, go low because contact was tough at a young age. So like if you go low and you take out the legs, you're fine. But yeah, the Cowboys was good. Chris Jordan put me on. Rode with him to a bunch of the practice, basically every single one. Loved every second of it. Never forget the song Uncle Stu put on in the car, "Call Me" by Joel.
shout out Uncle
That's the
Stu,
greatest
man.
song of all time.
Yeah.
That's the greatest song of all time. But yeah, the Cowboys was fire. It was fire. It was a good time.
Nah, that's dope, bro. I think the best thing we have now are those memories that we had, especially around that time. Because I feel like the Ride Town Youth Football League, they did such a good job of keeping it like a tight knit family. Because obviously our families came out every single week for every single game, so it really became a family affair. And I think everybody was just so appreciative of the fact that we were always together, and it trickled not just on the field but in the classroom as well, because every time we were
Yeah.
always in school together, you wouldn't if you saw one of us, you probably saw the other 10. Like, we were always
Right.
rolling deep in middle school.
Right.
So Ride
Right.
Town was real good for that, so shout out to them. But so obviously the Cowboys is where you got your start. You transitioned into the next league, and you end up getting picked up by the Falcons in Ride Town. So obviously you played, was it 2 seasons with the Falcons or 3? How many did you play?
Um, I'm not sure to be honest with you. Let's say two.
Okay. Yeah,
Let's
so
say
I,
two.
I ain't gonna hurt your feelings with that first year and how that ended.
Yeah,
So
I knew you were. I knew you were waiting for that.
yeah, I ain't gonna hurt your feelings with that. Although I'll tell you what, you were the one running back that gave us problems all year. I don't think there were too many running backs that scored on us, but you were the only one that had a multi-touchdown game on us. So it was
Falcons were a great squad, dude. That we were clicking with the chemistry early. A lot of guys from all over the place. Like it was, Falcons was a good team. That was a
yeah,
good team.
yeah, man. Talk about that squad, bro, because you really did. It was you, Melvin, McCook. So talk a little bit about your experience
Yeah,
with that
bro.
squad.
We had a good quarterback. I believe he was from Rye. Dude, that squad, we were just clicking, bro. Practice, we were always butting heads, going crazy. Like, especially for still like young guys, bro. Like, it's still a youth league. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We were actually going crazy, though. You see those clips on Instagram all the time of all the young kids flipping out in Florida, going wild in there. You know what I mean? 7-on-7s and whatnot. We were doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
In Rye Town Youth League, especially on the Falcons. So. That's why we went to the Super Bowl the first year. Unfortunately, we came up short. You know, we came up short,
Come on
but
now.
then, we got our get back and we came back around and,
It was
squad grew up a little bit and we got one.
the nastiest get back I've ever seen with my own two eyes. I couldn't believe it. And so yeah, we'll actually talk about that second year, because obviously we know how the first year ended, but that second year, so you experienced what it felt like to lose a big game. That was probably one of the first big games you lost, because you started playing football a little later, so you never really
Right.
experienced a bad loss. So at that time, we're 13 years old. That loss in the Super Bowl, how did that motivate you to come back better and tell yourself this shit is never happening again?
Oh, bro, I was probably crying after the first Super Bowl I was probably crying, bro. I was probably crying. Bro, you just got to get the get back. You lose the first Super Bowl. I mean, come on now. you're still playing the game, we got to go get one. That's the ultimate goal. It's not just to, it was to have fun, I guess, but like winning is fun. So let's get a chip, motivates you in that way. Just work harder,
Yep, for
run
sure.
faster.
Yeah, that's definitely true, bro. What you had like 5 touchdowns that game? It was ridiculous,
Yeah.
bro. It was
Carrying the
ridiculous.
squad, bro. I wasn't losing that one.
Yo,
I was kicking field goals and everything.
yes, you were. I remember.
Come on now.
I remember watching from
Come
the
on
sidelines.
now.
I'm like, yo, Jason is literally putting the team on his back. That's the only thing I said in my head. I'm like, yo, he's not losing twice. So,
No way, bro.
and I think
No way.
that's kind of when all of us knew the type of player that you were. I think we all knew you were good, but I think that was like the Jason Wiley coming out party because it's like if you get me down once, I promise you, you're not getting me twice, and that's one of the biggest things as your teammate that I loved about you throughout the years that we played together because I've seen you get like you never made the same bad play twice. I've never seen it happen. It doesn't. There's no film on it because it doesn't exist. So I want to make sure I give you your props for that too. But so yeah, with Rye Town, obviously you had your start, and I kind of want to tie in the fact that you're a youth coach now. So how does being a youth coach now kind of make you appreciate the coaches that you had while you were growing up?
Oh, it definitely makes me appreciate them in a big way because, bro, I act the same way the coaches that I had acted towards me. You know what I'm saying? All the lessons that I was taught, I now take and pass down to the youth generation and kind of tweak it in my own little way.
Yeah.
Because time changes, things change, stuff like that. But, it's going good. The youth coaching is lovely. I love it.
Yes, sir. Love to hear that. Keyshawn actually in the chat, he said, "Crazy. I played 4 years on the rate. How the hell did you play 4 years? Hold on, bro. Yeah, type that out, Key. Cause ain't no, bro. How did you get away with playing 4 years?
He was a big boy though, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. I don't know how you finesse 4 years out of that dog, but hey, salute to you, brother. More power to you. All right, so transitioning from Rye Town, you got your get back. Now it's eighth grade, and this is kind of the culmination of everything that we've all been through in Rye Town because for the first time ever, we're all teammates. It was really like that eighth grade year was really like a Rye Town All Stars team because all the best players from minus the guys from Rye and Harrison, you had the Ravens, you had the Raiders, you had the Falcons, and you had the Eagles. So we all came together for one team, and we stormed through just about everybody until we hit Rye. And I will never forget that game for the rest of my life. I'm still sick that we didn't beat Rye. But
yeah.
when you got from a team perspective, what was kind of your expectations out of all of us when we all finally touched the field together that eighth grade year?
Out of all of us, we're sweeping everybody. We're wiping the floor with everybody, bro. Like everybody on the same exact team, best positions here, there, offense, defense, special teams. I'm thinking we're sweeping the floor with absolutely everybody. And basically, for the most part, we did.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we did what we had to do. Rye was a tough game. Shout out to the boy AD
Yes,
with
sir.
the clothesline.
Oh my God.
That was nuts.
The most ridiculous that I've ever seen.
But yeah, bro, all of us linking up on the same squad, youth leagues, new guys. I was still fairly new to the game, to be quite honest with you, but we all, you know what I mean, got together, bro, had a hell of a year. That was a beastie squad.
Yeah, it really was.
It was a good squad.
Yeah. Did it
competitive squad.
Yeah, very. Practices were bad.
Practices were no joke.
Yeah.
During the field, during games, all sorts of injuries, whatnot, and us bouncing back from the injuries, ankles, arms, concussions. You know that all too well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, bro, that was a good squad.
Yeah,
Eighth grade, modified was all right, but I feel like the game really started to pick up, towards the end, end of it. towards the end of the year when we were focusing on the better squads and the playoffs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Harrison, we played Harrison. That was a tough game.
yeah, that was.
Really tough game. I think you rushed for like 200 or something, like 100, something like that. It was just toss, 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 or something like that.
It was a hard 200, I'll tell you that much. But yeah,
But yeah, modified was cool.
yeah, it definitely was. We played a lot of good teams, especially that eighth grade year. So yeah, like you said, you're still fairly new to it. So was there a when you made the transition from well us when we made the transition from middle school to high school, did you feel like was there something within you that kind of clicked where you kind of felt like you were morphing into the player that you wanted to be? Because at this point, you're still learning.
For sure, for sure. Middle school was definitely a higher learning curve from youth football sports and all that. There's more things to know about the game. The game is more serious. Calls are more accurate and stuff like that. So you really got to start cleaning up your act. Um, and that's when you really locked in on the professional players as well. You start practicing the moves in the backyard and whatnot, and then you bust those out in practice. Have coach yell at you a couple times, but still practice it anyway because going into high school, those are the moves you're going to need to be a better individual.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anybody in particular that you tried to model your game after?
Um, to be honest, not really.
Okay.
Just watching everybody, you take bits and pieces from absolutely everybody and try to craft your own style, you know what I mean? Rather than, oh, I got the Saquon Barkley jumper and the you know what I mean?
Yep.
Darren Sproles hop step or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm. Yeah, you ain't wrong about that. Yo, Kelvin, what's
Juke
going
move,
on, baby?
spin move. I'm naming basketball moves. Jesus.
Hey, it all it applied. It applied on the football field though. It
You
definitely
know what
did.
I mean though. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
jumping player. You know what I mean? All
Yeah, it definitely did. It's funny
that
because
hurdle.
he came into the league a little later, but looking back at your film, bro, you really like. It's funny because he plays for your favorite team. You remind me so much of Kamara, with just the way that he's able to. He's very low to the ground. It's hard to tackle him. You were a great pass catcher out the back. You were probably the best pass catcher out the backfield out of all of us. So
Back then we had Darren Sproles, so I guess you could say I was trying to mock a little, Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush.
yeah,
Those were my
definitely.
guys. I'm a Saints fan, so that's who I was watching every weekend, every Sunday,
Right.
Monday.
Yeah. Nah,
You know?
Darren Sproles and Reggie, that definitely adds up because you could
Yeah.
shift through the hole like Reggie, and then you pass call like Darren and in the open space, bro. Oh my God, I love see. I always love seeing you catch the ball in
Oh
open
yeah.
space because I knew it was a certified first down every
It's
single
over, bro. It's over.
time.
There's too much space. It was over.
Yep, I'm already knowing. All right, so we're in high school now, and at this point, we're starting to think about playing college football. We're watching college games more and more. We're starting to see the Division I schools, the big school like Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, especially Alabama during that time. I feel like Alabama was always in the national championship game. So now there comes like a sense of urgency to really start putting your foot on the gas. So when you got to high school, was there any initiative that you took to make sure that you were ready for that next step? I know it was kind of early, but even still, with just the way your mind operated, I always felt like you were always thinking about the next step anyway.
Next step as in like college ball or like next step as in high school ball?
Yeah, so like I would say taking the next step in high school to eventually prepare yourself to play college.
Um, to be honest with you, to be really honest with you, I wasn't doing the most. I was doing, the required team, strength and conditioning, um, training and stuff like that, practices, a little lifting on the side at home, but nothing too crazy. If you want to go away, you got to be different and you got to sacrifice yourself and do things, a lot of people aren't willing to do. I wasn't, the gym rat going crazy and stuff like that. I kind of was comfortable with my skill set and the practices that we did have. So that's just kind of how I rocked, bro. I don't know. That's just kind of how I did my thing. Going into college, like, I was, thinking about college. You definitely started to kick it into high gear, work out a little bit more. Um, but sophomore, junior year of high school, kind of the regular stuff, what
Yeah.
coach kind of had in the lesson plan all throughout the summer and the winter, and it was all the way around. So kind of just that kind of training regimen.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I'm gonna get to. I'm actually excited to talk about senior year, but we'll start from freshman year. So freshman year, you start. Obviously, you started off the season on JV. We had a monster year that year. I think we went 5-2, just beat just about everybody. And then that last game of the season, you got called up for your first varsity game against White Plains, who at the time was struggling, but White Plains is known very well amongst our county to be a football powerhouse for the most part. So against one of the best teams, historically in the section, your first carry was a 70-yard touchdown. I don't give a damn what the score was. Your first carry was a 70-yard touchdown off a toss, and you were untouched, bro. Nobody touched you. How I know nobody touched you? Because I had a fucking front row seat to watch you go down the sideline. So when that play happened, bro, you got to take me to what was going on in your head, bro. What was going on in your head during that play?
Fear, straight fear. I was shitting my pants. I'm thinking, holy cow! Like, I'm on varsity right now, small as hell. Everybody is gigantic compared to JV. Everybody was six
Yeah.
foot. This, that. Everybody's getting ready to go to college. I'm tiny, tiny, a string bean. As soon as I caught the ball, all I'm thinking of is run, run, fear, bro. It was literally all fear, and I went all the way with it as fast as possible.
Yeah, you were moving. I could tell you that much. You were
As
flying.
fast as possible, bro. Fear is the number one answer. I'm telling you, I was scared as hell.
Yeah. Was that kind of like another moment where you knew football was gonna be, take care of you in the future?
Yeah, because the praise on the sideline after that, regardless of the score, was ridiculous. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, just the future now.
Yep.
This is the guy we're gonna watch run up and down the field for the next couple of years. Like,
Yeah, future was definitely bright after that run. I can't lie, bro. It was such a beautiful run. I was smiling ear to ear when you came back to that sideline. So
right.
sophomore year, and what was kind of a shock, you actually stayed on JV,
Mm-hmm.
and it was funny because I can't remember exactly what me and you had spoken to, but you had asked me if I was going back up to varsity, and I said yeah. Like at that point, I really didn't have a choice. They were bringing me up regardless. But
Right.
I remember you asked me, and I was like, "What are you thinking about doing?" You were like, "I'm thinking about staying." What was part of that decision to stay down on JV instead of get an early start on your varsity career?
Just get the XP up. Just get the XP up. The experience. Keep playing, get as many reps as possible because I don't want to ride the bench and not play.
Yeah.
So keep playing, get the reps up, go crazy, and have everybody realize, hmm, he probably shouldn't be there. So that's kind of how I went about that.
Well, they realized real quick because your ass was bought up after 3 damn games. It
Yeah.
did not take long. It really did not take long. And then next thing I
Yeah.
know, I'm looking across on defense, and here we are back again playing DB together again. So you came back up to varsity sophomore year. It was actually I remember the game too. It was Horace Greeley because that was the first game we won all season, and you had a pretty solid defensive game. They were pretty stout defensively, so we couldn't get much going offensively. But defensively, you're always in on the tackle. I remember you made like 3 touchdown saving tackles down the sideline because you were the only person hustling. A sophomore. Let me remind y'all, this only sophomore on the field because the story adds up with me. I got hurt again, so I'm on the sideline again. So the only sophomore on the field is chasing dudes 30 yards down the field and stopping them from scoring touchdowns. And honestly, Jay, you saved the game because if you don't make those tackles, bro, we lose. The game was 8-7. It was a terrible score. But if you don't make those tackles, we do not win. And you continue to keep rising and rising every single week. You're making more and more plays. You're getting comfortable. When did you feel, because obviously at first you're running with a sense of fear, when did that sense of comfort kick in for you sophomore year?
After so many times of getting praise from individuals, you start to get a little bit comfortable, you know? You
Yeah.
kind of, it's hard to stay humble, especially a guy with my type of character. Uh, it's hard to stay humble. So a lot of praise, and then you just start getting cocky and confident with it, and then you start making more plays because you're just that comfortable.
Yeah. You got comfortable real fast too. It really didn't take long, especially
OG Pops kept saying last man, last man.
Yep,
That was always screamed about in practice.
all
There's
the
no way
time.
I'm letting it happen to me. There's no way.
All the time,
And
bro.
we
All
and
the
we
time.
had, I think, sophomore year. Did we still have Domestico for sophomore year?
No, that was Santa Vica's first year.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
So Santa Vica was very adamant to make sure that me and you were always last man if the ball was going away from us. Just make sure you make the tackle. And bro, you saved us so many times throughout the years playing last man. I swear to God.
Had to. All the way on the other side of the field, bro. I was just hustling,
It sucks.
hustling.
It sucks. Our job. We played the same positions. Our jobs really sucked, bro. Like we never
Yeah.
came off the field, and we'll
Tough
get in.
positions, bro.
Yeah,
You
we'll
gotta
get
have
into that.
ridiculous stamina.
Yeah, we'll get into that for our junior. Actually, we can get into it now. So sophomore year is over. Junior year, the gang is finally together as a whole, as a unit. And we're playing with the guys above us, and we have that class above us. Man, I love that class to death. The class of 2017, great group of guys, real
Absolutely.
gritty. I think they were the reason. A lot of them were the reason that, because I look back on it beforehand, we were a top 6 defense in Section 1 that year. I think we were 4th. Like
That
in
was a
points
good
given up.
squad
Yeah.
because we had a couple psychos on the defense. So you need a couple psychos on the defense.
Yes,
you
you
need
do.
a couple.
Anybody that's a recruiter in here, take notes when you go look for defensive players, bro. They gotta have a screw loose.
Yeah,
They got to.
gotta have a screw loose.
Yep. So junior year comes in. At this point, me, you, and Sean just take turns going off every single game. But I feel like towards the end of our junior year, you probably pieced it together the fastest because you caught such a really good groove, starting from the Mount Vernon game. Mount Vernon, I'll never forget, you went for 200 yards. That was your first 200-yard varsity game. You probably scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns that game. And then it trickled over into the White Plains game because then you had another 2 touchdown, 1 interception You had 2 picks that game, actually. God damn, Jay, shit. You had a 2 touchdown,
Yes,
2 interception
sir.
performance in that game. And then you came back again in Mamaroneck. We remember that game way too well, and had another 2 touchdown, 1 interception. You actually had 3 touchdowns because you scored twice and had the pick 6. God, yo, okay. This is what I'm
bro.
saying, y'all. He
Yeah,
got
bro.
comfortable very fast, and it led you to becoming an all-section back. Congratulations. Once again, I'm going to congratulate you every time I hear that, bro, because seeing you
Thank
get
you,
all-section as a junior, bro, was phenomenal, man, and it was well-earned, well-deserved. You led us in just about every category that year. So talk a little bit about that junior year, because at that point, I think in your head you knew, like, yeah, I'm that nigga. Like, you knew that at that point.
So after you get all the praise, blah blah blah, you get comfortable, cocky, whatever. Now you have the chemistry with the team and whatnot, and we've been playing with each other for years at this point. We've been hanging out with each other off the field. We're dying with each other, strength and conditioning practices and Hell Week and all types of stuff like that. Now the brotherhood is formed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just like you said, the gang is all together. So I'm only able to do what everybody else is able to. Obviously, especially as a running back, bro.
Yeah.
Shout out to the linemen, of course, that we had a lot of
Facts.
small guys because of genetics, but
Yeah.
they still, you know, hustled their ass off, made shit happen. And I just piggyback off it, bro. You get me a little open space. Here comes 200 yards. Here comes 3 touchdowns. Here comes a couple picks. So really, it's just a semblance of everybody. That's it, bro.
Yeah.
And then the XP gained through over the years, and here we are. Here we are, you know,
Yeah.
kicking ass.
Talk a little bit about one of your favorite moments from that junior year, because there was a lot. You had a lot of great moments that year.
Um, Favorite moments from junior year. Always the Horace Greeley games. Always the Horace Greeley games. Loved beating up Horace Greeley. 60-yard touchdowns, 70-yard touchdowns, stiff arms, jukes, spin moves. You're just pulling tricks out the bag at this point. Now we're just practicing, you know what I mean? I'm going for
For real.
200 anyway, so might as well try to jump over this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What are some other games that we had were crazy? Fox Lane, was that junior year?
I think that was senior year. What?
That
Because
might
that was
have
the
been
game I left at halftime, right?
Mm,
That was when you had the 3 touchdowns and I had the one, and we both. You had the punt return
yes,
touchdown that game,
yes,
right?
the punt return.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was senior year.
yeah.
I think we lost to Fox Lane.
How about the Ossining game? The Ossining game was nuts junior year.
Ooh, when we went there, we took over their trap.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. They
do you
they
want to?
tried to twist my ankle at the bottom of
I'm
the
about to say, you
pile.
want to talk
X
about the
started
fight?
getting the fight.
You want to talk about
Yeah,
the fight,
man.
bro? It was all over
Yeah,
Twitter, bro.
man.
It was bad.
That was crazy.
I'm gonna let you talk about it because
Crazy.
you were at the bottom of the pile.
No, well, it's really just whatever it was. It was run play, pass play. You know, you tackled, the pile forms, bro, and all of a sudden my ankle's starting to dance under the pile. I'm like, the hell's going on over here? These guys are trying to twist my ankle, rip it off, you know, take me out the game because I'm killing them, doing whatever. Finally, you know, bodies start getting up and you can visibly see what's going on. So X comes flying over and starts punching people in the face mask. Like, yo, what's going on here? That
Oh,
was nuts. It was really nuts.
that game was so crazy, and we left them on zero. That was the satisfying part about it. We left them
Yeah.
on zero.
You caught a tutty that game, I think. I think Sean may have got one.
What happened that game? I'm trying to think.
I think you either caught one or ran one. I can't remember all this stuff, you know, back of my hand.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. While I'm thinking about while I'm getting ready to ask you this next question, I'm gonna look it up. So, you know what? Let's pull out Over Reliable. Let's go to Max Preps. Let's go to Max Preps and see.
Max Prep should have a little something.
Yeah, Max Preps definitely got us, bro. Even though me and you fact checked this too, a lot of our stats were not correct, especially that.
Yeah,
senior year,
no.
But
No chance. No
yeah,
chance.
so let's see what they
Which
got.
is which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I think me, you, and Sean kind of got the short end of the stick with that because the offense basically ran through the three of us, so a lot of our stats kind of got downplayed, unfortunately, which sucks, but it is what it is. That shit was 8 years ago. Okay, so against Ossining, you had 11 carries, 82 yards. I had 14 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sean had 6 carries, 48 yards. Oh, Erlin had a rushing touchdown that game.
Yeah, that was the little tank, man, the little fullback.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
He
do
was
remember that
nice.
now. We got down to the one and we
Shout
gave
out
him the
to shout
ball.
out to Erlin.
Yeah,
Shout out to
bro.
Erlin.
Shout out, hey, yeah, shout out to Erlin, bro. That man was putting up some serious weight in that weight room, and it showed on
Yeah,
the field. My God,
that's a fact.
yeah, big shout out to Erlin. But yeah, so that's a nuts story that we could all think back about because we were really like X started it, and then we all just jumped in. But unfortunately, X was the one that took the brunt because he got suspended for the next game, so we didn't have
Yeah, and I remember in the game film when we were watching with the team, Russo standing on the sideline. Both sidelines clear, and Cole's the old jersey standing there like, what the?
That's funny as hell. I didn't realize that, bro, because, yeah, it's right on film right when it starts. Like, right when it starts, you see everybody, all of us rush in. And
Shout out to my brother Cole Russo, too, man.
yeah, shout out Cole, bro. Shout out Cole, man. Cole, you gave us probably one of the best moments our senior year, too, bro. I swear to God. When he caught his
The
first
Tutty,
touch.
yep.
Whew.
Against Austin, too. That's the same team.
Yep. And shout out Carroll, because that was a dime.
Yep.
That was a dime. Or was it Bach? It might have been. No, it was Bach. Shout out
No,
Mike.
it was definitely Bach.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
shout out
definitely
Mike Bach.
Bach.
I didn't realize that we still had I didn't realize we were all still in the game at that point because we were whooping Austin's ass.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Bach actually had a couple of crazy games rushing the ball, too.
Yeah, very
Especially at the
underrated
QB spot. I'm not sure if he played half too much, but we had a couple of trickery QB plays where he was running the ball, even QB powers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just us running up the whole lead blocking for him.
Yeah.
He definitely had a couple good rush games.
Yep, and I remember the play too because I would go in motion, I'd fake jet, and then you lead through the hole for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it worked every time because everybody's thinking I'm getting the ball. And then here comes Bach scrambling for 20 yards down the damn field. And he was so shifty. That was a baby Manziel, bro. Y'all gonna put some respect on my quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna put some damn respect on my quarterback, man. Yeah, Bach had a nice rushing year. He had 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a solid rushing year for a guy of his stature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, junior year was probably one of the more fun years we had. For those of you that aren't from Port Chester, we made a little bit of history that year. We were able to beat Mount Vernon, White Plains, and Mamaroneck in a 3-game stretch, which I remember Coach Santora told us no Port Chester team has ever done that. So there's a little bit of history there, which was incredible to be a part of with all of us. And now we're transitioning into the big dog year, senior year, where now we are able to finally break this curse that was hovering over Port Chester football for so long because we couldn't do it junior year because we fell short to Spring Valley. Senior year, I want to talk to you a little bit about your mindset going into senior year. At this point, it's like college ball is coming up. We have a chance to potentially win a league championship for the first time in, 14, 15 years since we last won one beforehand. So what was your mindset heading into that last year?
Okay, so after junior year, now you have the ads. We know the game already.
Yep.
Now we know the game. We're dying for the game. We're dying for our boys. We're ready to go now. And now you're getting into, oh my God, here comes college, bro. Like, I want to be one of the ones. I want to be one of the guys. Like, this is show out year. This is do the most you can year. Like, stretch for the extra yard. Do what you got to do. This year is everything. This year is everything. Preparation for the year, a little bit harder. Nothing, out of the ordinary. But a little bit harder. Beginning of the year, bro. What do we do? First game was who was our first game? First game.
Arlington. Damn.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tough game.
We
Tough game.
got humbled that first game for sure.
Okay, so Arlington, we definitely got humbled that game. But like I'm saying, with the preparation and like getting ready and all that, the most physical game of football up until that point of playing football, the most physical game of football I've ever played.
1000%.
Wide receivers and corners really jamming each other up, hitting each other, throwing each other to the floor. Yeah, it was happening, junior year and stuff like that. But like the smack start of the year, like now we're really like going crazy ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know this is it,
Yep.
And you have the same squad from last year with a couple extra puzzle pieces that had moved up. We're ready to go. Arlington was tough. I remember throwing a wide receiver to the floor or a corner to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing receiver or whatever and just jammed him. He fell straight on his ass. It's a run play. I think you were probably running the ball or something. We still had some good stats in that game. That game was,
Yeah, I could. I have
that
all the
game was
stats.
probably one of the wildest fan interaction games too. Their
Oh
whole
my
their
god.
whole stadium knew our names.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy, bro? And he looked at my Instagram story. Shout out Ricardo Yolas. I know you probably gonna see this, bro.
Yeah,
You
that's the boy.
fuck you, bro. I don't like you. But so I actually went to school. I was on the track and field team at Cortland with one of the girls that was a part of that student section at Arlington. She ran track with me, and she said she was like, they went on Max Preps, looked up our names, our numbers, looked up our social media, and literally just ran with it. They were like, yeah, we're gonna torment you guys, and I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, y'all some demons for that, because that was ridiculous. I've never been a part of an atmosphere like that.
It was a crazy game, bro, especially when they're shouting your name like that. I feel like we might have gave up a little bit towards the end of the game. Starting to remember it now. But like we were ready to go, bro. We were ready to go, you know what I mean? Most physical game we ever played. That was a great squad, great football squad. They had a couple of big boys on the line.
Yeah, they
You
damn
know what
sure
I
did.
mean? It's tough. Shout out to our big boy Key, bro. I gotta keep bringing Key up because Key was everything, bro. Key was everything for the backs. Key was everything.
Bro, he
Shout
really
out to
was.
my dog.
There's so many for y'all that have never seen like our film. I promise you, there's a big ass 63 jersey in front of us on every single touchdown, bro. Keyshawn led the way for all of us. Please know you appreciate it, bro. Kelvin said Keyshawn trash. Stop it, bro. That man was a saving grace to us. A saving grace.
He really was.
Yeah.
And one more shout out to our smallest lineman. Dude's
Max.
getting his head blown off every game. CTE, seeing green. Bro doesn't know what day it is.
Oh my god.
I don't even know. Max was a legend at the. Nobody could really take that position from Max, bro. He wasn't. No matter how many times he got hurt, he was always popping right back in.
Facts. The smallest center in Section 1. But I promise you, if you were
Probably the best too.
I was about to say, if you were probably a D tackle, you did not want to see him in the trenches. I promise you, you didn't. He was definitely one of the best centers in Section 1. And we appreciate you too. We appreciate all the linemen, but those are definitely two special shout outs, especially because we graduated with them. So, but yeah, so
See,
we got humbled
senior
against
year we got humbled against Arlington.
Spring
We
Valley
had
was
the
next.
Spring Valley game. That was our get back game
Yeah, that was a mean get
from
back game.
the prior year, junior year. That game 3-0. It was to a field goal to a kid who just signed up to be on the football team, was a soccer player for spring.
Yeah.
That was extremely upsetting. Extremely upsetting. So we come back the following year, senior year, and we got to go crazy. We went crazy on.
Yeah, and it was at their place too. I actually have the stats up from that game. You had 120 total yards. Sean had 135, and I had 204. So yeah, we all went crazy that game.
And there's the game where all of us ridiculous amount of yards.
And it was
Crazy,
not,
bro.
guys. It was not the first instance that we did that. There's a couple of those.
You're just watching us sprint up and down the field, zoom, 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 back and forth all game.
It was ridiculous, bro. So Arlington was probably the best case scenario for us, and obviously, so the captains that year were you, me, and Bach for a majority of the year, and then finally after weeks they gave Max the captain's nod, which was well earned. So early in that season, what was it like trying to keep the team's head on straight, especially after that loss to Arlington, because we were going into league play after that.
Well, that's what you just said right there, the league play. I mean, Coach Stanovica snapping us into gear, obviously, in the locker room with his motivational speeches, him shaking and crying and all these emotions, bro, like making us all freak out in the locker room, getting ready for these games. bro, that was inspirational there, bro. Like that was nuts. Then we come out to these games. It's league play now. We know these kids. We've been playing them for, years. We probably met them here, there, wherever we met them. Um, but now it's time to, whoop their ass, bro. Now it's time to go crazy.
Yeah, me, you, and
League
Sean.
play. Our first game was who?
So Arlington was the first game, and Spring Valley was the second, and then it was homecoming against Greeley.
Yeah, but I think Spring Valley was in our league, right?
Oh, the first league game. Yeah, Spring Valley was our
Yeah.
first league game, and then
And then we had
Horace Greeley homecoming.
Gotta love Greeley. Beautiful game to have homecoming too. I mean, that's the game where you back out all the tricks. Bro. Like
Facts.
it was amazing.
Yep.
That's another amazing game. Lot of highlights on the high.
This man.
God, I love that school. Shout out Greeley, man.
Yeah,
Shout out
facts.
Greeley.
Shout out everybody at Greeley, man. We appreciate y'all.
That's a great school, man. Thank you.
It really is, bro. We appreciate.
Thank you for existing.
Yes, much needed, much needed. So it was Greeley, and then Fox Lane. That was another get back game because we lost to them the previous year.
Right, right. They had some tough players the previous year, some good seniors. Lost a couple guys the following year. They still had key pieces though, a giant wide receiver. Um,
Yeah.
who else? I think the back on their team was pretty good.
Shout out Andrew Brown. I know you probably seen this too. Shout out to you, bro. You was a dog.
Definitely good players on the squad, but again, you got to play, you got to play us. Like, you got to play us. We're not ready to just up and lose one again after the following year, bro. Like, we know what we're doing. We've been training for this. We things for this. We love the game. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Let's get us a win. Let's get us a chip. Let's get us, let's be the dogs of the league.
Oh God. And that was the second to last league game, and then league championship Thursday night at the crib, fresh out of school. The stands were packed. Oh my God, the stands were packed. We have a chance to finally break a curse. Bro, the emotions heading into that game were so high. What do you remember exactly from that game? You could talk about before and after the fact, because after the fact, I think
This
we lost.
game is. Which game is this?
The league championship game against Austin.
I think his name was Sanchez. Something Sanchez.
James Sanchez, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Sanchez.
Shout out to him.
I think I met him after the season, or after our game, after the season, and got to really chop it up with him in the All-Star game.
Yeah, because we practiced
Cool
together.
dude, but playing with him for years again, and you just got to be better than your opposing back. You know what I mean? Like, if you think you're the guy, you got to be better than their guy. I thought I was the guy, so I got to be better than that. Dude was wearing the gold cleats, this or that, and the third, flashy, standing out. I was kind of calm with my drib. I wasn't flashy.
You had
But
the
when it
half
came
sleeves,
to the
though.
stat, yeah. A little, I was trying to mix it in. I was trying to figure. But when it came to the stats, bro, the stats were talking for me. I didn't need.
Yeah, they damn sure did. Bro, you only had 2 games where you didn't tap 100. That's it. You had 2 games. It was, and they were back to back.
Taking a day off, man. I was letting my boys carry the squad.
It was back to back games. John Jay and Clarkstown, our playoff game. I don't really want to talk about Clarkstown too much.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that one.
That was tough.
Yeah, that one hurt all of us. That was tough. But then we had our last game against Suffern, so our last home game, and we all had a great game then. I don't play against Mayapack, and you literally have probably one of your best. It was probably, from my perspective on the sideline. Here I go on the sideline, hurt again, y'all. But from my perspective on the sideline, Jay, I think Mayapack was the culmination of everything you've been through as a football player, because you did A little bit of everything. You were the workhorse that. Damn, yeah, you were the workhorse that game. You had 42 carries, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. You were the literal workhorse. I'm baffled reading these stats. You had 42 carries in a game, bro.
Those are Derrick Henry numbers right there.
Yeah, you bugged out. So talk a little bit about, obviously the result wasn't what we wanted. We lost to Mayapack. We had the lead and then lost it at the end. And off a Hail Mary where just about all of you guys were in the end zone for it. And honestly, I thought Sean had came down with the ball because I saw Sean go up and get it. So I thought he had came down with it, and then you just see the ball kind of trickle out towards the end. But yeah, that was a tough one. And then coach gave us his last speech, and then that was it, bro. So what was it like to be able to finally? But I don't know if you remember what the Mayapack coach said. Coach DiMatteo, shout out Coach DiMatteo. He talked to me and you after the game and just sang Portchester's praises. And although we lost, at that point I felt like we finally did what we set out to do. We got Portchester the respect that we always wanted in Section 1. So coming from a legendary coach like Coach DiMatteo and, obviously him and his brother at Somers, those are two powerhouse schools. To be able to get that level of respect from such a legendary coach, what did that mean for you in being able to finally complete our mission as a team?
Praise is always good. I think I definitely appreciated the message and whatnot, but for me it was more about kind of just getting, I guess, the recognition back to Portchester. But Portchester used to be such a good school
Mm-hmm.
in football and whatnot, and you kind of just wanted to bring that back, especially for the guys that I was around, the the parents and whatnot. Everybody, voicing their opinion all the time about, how Portchester used to be, blah blah blah. And you hate to hear the used to, you want to be.
Yeah.
Bring it back for them, so they can come watch the games and enjoy themselves. This is what we used to do. Or they show up to the game and just like, yeah, we know we're just see how it's gonna happen. That's really what I wanted to bring back, But definitely appreciate the praise from such a, coach for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So after the game of your life, at that point, the book of high school football for Jason Wiley is over, which is a hell of a book. I mean, golly, bro, we went through all your stats. My God, bro, your career was definitely legendary. So now it's finally that time to think about the next move, college. So obviously, me and you weren't heavily recruited. It was kind of tough, and then we both kind of veered off into our own route. So for the recruiting process, which is funny because I always remember seeing you leave class and go to the office because you were getting called out every single day by a coach. So just talk a little bit about the recruiting process and how that kind of, just talk a little bit about how the recruiting process went.
The majority of the schools that I talked to were schools, kind of, a lot of schools from around the area, Florida, this, that, and the third. I talked to one coach. I believe I talked to one coach from Central Connecticut. I think that they're Division One, but things didn't pan out. I just wasn't the guy. Um, Going to talk to coach after coach, different schools, going to those all section dinners. They had kind of colleges there already out in the lobby. It's like handing pamphlets, this, that, or whatever, just to the school, talking to you for a little bit, having dinner. Um, but I talked to Coach Jonathan Drock from Wilkes one day, pulled out of class, talked to Drock, liked his style, very chill, um, chill dude. Um, I don't know, made sense. Made sense. Pennsylvania, never been.
Hmm.
Didn't get too many opportunities to play at a Division I school. Otherwise, I probably would have took that. Not sure about the D2, but I wanted to play. I wanted to play. So I took Wilkes, went out to Pennsylvania, and here we go. You know what I mean? Sometime in August 1st, I'm out in Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, getting ready to go for college ball, getting ready to be freshman starter. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's so crazy. So obviously you made the transition to college, and what was the transition like going from high school football to college football for you?
first of all, practices were 4 billion times different. Strength and conditioning, you didn't do shit in high school. You didn't do shit. You did not do anything. Uh, Some practices are just straight up track practice. Like, never mind Santa Vica's little, 20-30 minute running at the end of a practice or something like that, or Hell Week, or bro, oh my, there's guys running around the turf, bro. It's just a straight track practice, throwing up over the fence. Guys are fainting. All types of crazy shit is happening because you're just pushing the limit to the absolute maximum. Does not matter what you're pushing the limit to the absolute maximum, and whatever you can give until you fall out. Dude, it was insane. Absolutely insane. At least in my eyes. That's what I believe.
No,
Um,
I think a lot of people would agree
bro,
though.
the killer workouts, bro. 8 pushes. Oh my God. Those will turn a boy into a day of the week. I swear to God, bro.
Plate
I
pushes were the
swear to
absolute worst.
God. Carrying some dude of your same weight in full pads up a hill, down a hill, backpedaling up the hill, backpedaling down the hill. Bro, that doesn't even make any sense.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my God. Those practices. But then, you get to really see the change of the game. That's the physical change. You're really doing crazy changing like that. And then it's the brain stuff now. Now you're taking playbooks home. Now you got to study playbooks.
Yep.
Now you're coming into study sessions and whatnot. Um, and you're in a running backs meeting, and if you get called on to answer a question and you don't know what's going on, bro, you're not starting that week.
Yep.
You're not starting that week. This is not like D1, like, oh, Ezekiel Elliott's got to play. Like, no matter what, like, he's got to play. No, like, if you sit in the running back room, Wilkes, bro, you're not, you're goofing off. You're not focused. See ya. We'll put in what's his name for next week. It don't matter. Um, so the brain part was tough. Definitely tough. Reading a whole gigantic playbook, so many different plays. Now you're doing audibles and hot calls. And you got to remember, like, you're just getting to college ball. So there's a whole group of guys who've been doing this.
Mhm.
They've been doing this.
Yep.
So you walk into something where they're moving lightning quick, and you're just like deer in the headlights. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You get the physicals up. That's basically the easy part. You just got to turn your brain off. Then turning your brain on and studying the plays and moving at a quick pace that guys have been doing it, you know, years on end already. That's the harder.
For sure. Yeah, you said it beautifully, bro. And for all the young athletes that may see that clip, please take notes, bro. Please take notes because Jay is 1000% right. College is a completely different ball game. It doesn't matter don't let the division fool you. I promise you. There are still
Yeah.
elite running backs, wide receivers, just players period at the Division 2 and Division 3 levels. It doesn't matter what division you go to. I promise you the work is going to be strenuous. You have to be mentally prepared for that. Jay said it perfect. I couldn't have said it any better myself, bro, because these kids think, and we were part of that at one point. Division 1 is the end all be all. You go D2 or D3, you ain't making shit. Like, ain't nobody worried about you. You gotta go D1. Because if you don't go D1, you might as well stop playing football because there's no need. But D3 and D2, it's the fact that there's a very small chance that you go to the next level. That just means the love for the game is intensified. Because you know there's no tomorrow. You know for a fact only about 5% of Division 3 players go play professionally, and sometimes it's not even the NFL. Now they're going to the XFL, the UFL, the CFL, arena football. Some of them aren't even going to the NFL, bro. I've only known 2 guys. There was 2 kids from my school, from Cortland, that went professional. One of them isn't with the team anymore, and the other one's a practice squad member on the Bengals. That's it. Just 2. So understand that. The work, you'll still have to work. You're still going to meet a ton of guys that love football, and you're still going to go up against a bunch of dogs every single week, especially depending upon the school you go to. Because I'm going to get into your little rivalry in a minute. Wilkes and Kings. Yeah, I know all about that rivalry. Boy, y'all had some battles when you were at that school, man.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Did you play that freshman year against them?
The freshman year I played, we lost that game, but it was a hell of a battle. I don't think I did too much on the stat sheet. Had a few carries, wasn't just as explosive as I wanted to be. But we had some great guys on the team, bro. Jose Tabora, Nick Yannick. Who am I missing? A lot of guys on the squad. D-Rock, beast of a receiver. Cornerbacks, we had Jeer, we had Fink, we had stacked linebacker core, Jesmer. We had a bunch of crazy guys, just love for the game, the best out of their area, and it's like, yeah, I just want to keep playing football, bro. And even while we're doing it, a whole other gets created. Everybody knows the game. We're moving at a fast pace, bro. Beastie squad. Just came up short against Kings, man. That one was really tough. Because that is the rivalry game, bro.
Yeah.
And we want that so bad. That's always at the end of the year. Oh, man, that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah, for those of y'all that don't know, there's a strong week 10 majority of the time for Division 3 is rivalry week. So majority of the time around the country, you're looking to see, if you're not playing that week, you're looking to see, okay, what rivalry game can I watch? Who's playing? So you know about Kings and Wilkes. You know about University of Wisconsin lacrosse and University of Wisconsin. There's another one. It's lacrosse and somebody else. Oshkosh. That's who it is. You know about Mount Union and their rivalry with another school in Ohio. You know about the Cortica Jug with Cortland and Ithaca. There's so many very good rivalries in Division 3 that it makes it fit. First of all, before I even go to that statement, talk about the atmosphere of that game, because I know that game was live.
Just both sides wearing their respective colors, going crazy. Now, and everybody, basically everybody. You're always seeing everybody running into everybody where. And like you said, the games are at the end of the season. So, you guys have been along the ride. Everybody's been at those games beforehand, and now they're all the way at the point. And even though they're not on the team, they're on the team. You know what I mean? They're with that school. Like, you can't let anybody down.
Yep, 1000%.
Atmosphere was absolutely insane.
Yeah, I'm already knowing. There's clips that went around on the Division 3 football page, and Wilkes and Kings consistently shows up every year during rivalry week. And every time I look at it, I'm like, bro, these motherfuckers are crazy in PA. Like, it's nuts.
It's a good time, especially when you win. It's a good time out there.
Yeah, athletes, win y'all rivalry games. Trust me, it'll be a
Yeah.
lot better for you after the fact.
Trust us.
It'll be a lot better for you after the game. We promise you. We will not tell you a lie. But yeah, so obviously your career has so many ups. There's been so much success. Was there ever a time where adversity hit you, and it could be from a personal standpoint, from a mental standpoint, emotional? Was there ever a time where adversity hit you and you kind of felt like you were on your last leg and you knew you had to come back?
Mm, I feel like it hits you all the time, whenever you run a challenge, it may be physically, mentally, thinking you're not good enough, this or that. All school ball could be grades. There's a whole bunch of challenges that you run into, and it's just a resilience that you need to have. You can't be gotta block out the outside noise and just keep pushing. You're always gonna else another day. You can always figure out the situation in whatever category it may be, physically, mentally, um, playbook wise, grade wise. Everything is bounce backable. And I feel like, I ran into a lot of challenges along the way. Just got to put your head down, grind it out, bounce right back. Because that's what happens to everybody in any life. And you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. So appreciate you, Jay. I'm gonna give you one last question because there's actually I do have a lot of traction with some young athletes, especially in our community, who were really excited on my Instagram to see that me and you were gonna have this conversation today. So if you could just give any advice to the youngins in any aspect, whether it's life, football, whatever the case may be, because you were once that age, what piece of advice would you give to them?
Big personality. I got a big person, bro. Just be happy, bro. Do whatever you got to do to make yourself happy with whatever situation it is. If you got to work out more, work out more. If you got to, do what you like to do. That's it. Do what you like to do. Do what's going to get you there and chase the dreams, bro. Chase the dreams. Always chase the dreams.
And that's a beautiful way to end right there, y'all. Take notes, youngins. Always chase your dreams and don't let nobody tell you can't do it. That is another episode of our 24/7 podcast. About to close this out. Y'all, thank you, Jason, so much for hopping on with me, bro. I greatly appreciate it. I love you to death, till death do us part. I got you. But for you to be able to come on and talk about your experiences, man, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of young athletes and probably even resonate with people that we went to school with because they don't know the full story. So being able to really get a glimpse from your perspective about how things were, I think it's only going to make them appreciate you more. So I appreciate you. You know that. And I'm super grateful that you came on for today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, bro. I got love you too.
Yes,
Thank you for
sir.
having me on here.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to close out the stream, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. It's another episode of 24/7 where we always open for business. You already know what it is. I'm your boy, Jordan Lewis 9K. I'm going to talk to y'all next time. Peace.